All right, everyone, I'm back. We're going to look next at how to organize your website using pages. So when I click up here in the upper right on pages, you'll notice that right now we have only set up our home page. Well, at the bottom, we can add more pages to our site. So this is how we're going to organize the information needed. So if I was going to go into specifics on my example site on the Revolutionary War, then I might start by choosing one of the key battles. So maybe I'll choose Saratoga. So when I hit done, a few things I want you to notice. So as you can see in the upper right, we now have links that will take us to our home page and to our page on Saratoga. And notice it basically kept the same format as my home page. Now I can change the background if I want to, the same way we did earlier, or I could leave it consistent. That's up to you as a web page designer. What we're able to do now on Saratoga, on this specific page or part of our website, is we're able to add the important information. I could go back to insert and choose one of those layouts like we talked about earlier, right? So I can, click to insert text here, and I could put a Saratoga. I could put some information about how this was the turning point of the war. I can add an element. So notice that when you click the plus sign, we've looked at some of these already. We've looked at images. What I would like to look at next is from Drive. So you could actually include elements in your web page that you have in Google Drive. So for example, notice on the right here, it opened up my Drive. These are actually my folders, and if I had them organized, I could go right in and find what I'm looking for. I would suggest if you're working on a project that you might start under recent, because this will find things that you have looked at recently. And let's just say, for example, that this was going to be the document I wanted to include. This is clearly our Chromebook troubleshooting guide, but for an example, it loads that document right within my web page. Now, something key, when I preview it, I'm going to be able to see it just like I did when editing. But the important thing is to make sure that any document that you put on your web page is shared to your audience. So for example, if I were to open up the share permissions on this document, I'm going to want to make sure that it's been shared with anyone with the link. So your teachers, your classmates or peers, those are all people within our Cuyahoga Falls domain. So you'd want to make sure that it's been shared down here at the bottom. You'd want to make sure this says anyone in Cuyahoga Falls City Schools in the school district. You could also open it up to anyone with the link if this is like an ePortfolio or something that you want to share with people outside of Cuyahoga Falls, like parents or a potential school or maybe employer. Okay, so it's very important that whatever you embed, put into your website, it also has the correct share permissions. Okay, so another thing I wanted to show, let's go out of the preview, is since this is Saratoga is actually a place in New York, you'll notice that one of the options is a map. So what I can do is I can actually search for that location. And I can add this to my page. Okay, so a web page gives you a whole host of different features that you can add. I'm going to add another page. Click on Pages. I'm going to come down here again, and a few things that you can do. One of them is just add a new page altogether. If you want to be kind of consistent, one thing I like to do is take the first page and use the three-dot menu and duplicate. Okay, now we've done things like this before, but duplicating a page doesn't mean you start over. It means you take what's already there and then you can change it. So if I was going to do a second page, and this time on stalemate in the North, my next page, it's actually going to take everything from the first page I worked on, Saratoga, and duplicate it. So in this case, then I would need to change my title and change the elements within the page, but it keeps the same layout, which is really nice for a website. Okay, let's practice a few things. I'm going to practice deleting, right? So I'm going to get rid of a couple things that were in there. I also want to show you how this block can be stretched, but it all stretches together. These three things are actually three separate pieces, but when they are grouped together, they act together. So if I were to move this to the center, notice how they're all going to move together. Sometimes you may want to separate or remove individual pieces. So let's say down here, I wanted to separate it. Notice how my blue box, when it's around everything, that is all the elements together. I would want to click to make sure that the blue box is only around the object I want to move or delete. So let me practice by moving or grabbing this one. And let's say I just move it over here to the right. And let me practice deleting this one. I'll use the trash can. So there are some new elements that you might not have used before, but it's very easy to learn and understand. Okay. The other thing I would like to do on this page, let me go back here to the insert menu and just show you that some of the things that we found in that plus sign, they've been over here. We've done the adding from Drive. We've done down here at the bottom, the map. Let's actually this time add a YouTube video. So I can search for that video, or I could copy and paste the URL. And that's the way I would recommend. Now, if I just search for Revolutionary War, I'm sure I'm going to find a bunch of videos, but you can't preview them here. You'd have to select them. It adds the YouTube video and you can move it around. But the problem is you don't even know if that's a video that's any good or if that video has been restricted. So what I would recommend you doing is I would recommend you opening up a new tab, going to YouTube directly, searching for the Revolutionary War again here, previewing the videos to make sure that they are good ones. And then if it's good and it is an active video that's been approved, then take the URL and copy it. When you go back to your site, now use the YouTube insert feature, paste in the link, and you'll get that one video, and you've already verified that it is a good video for your site. Okay. Now, what I love about that is it becomes a playable video without leaving your site. So let's check that out in preview mode. Here I am on the Stalemate in the North. Disregard the Saratoga label there. But see how that video loads like it's in YouTube? It plays just like it's in YouTube. You can do full screen just like you can in YouTube. So it has all of those elements within your own page. And here you can see my document is embedded. What embedded means is it's actually shown through the website, like a preview screen. Okay. Last thing to look at for now is in Pages, there is another way to set up your organization. Okay, so notice every time I add a page, it's adding more links to the top. Well, it looks okay with 2, 3, maybe 4 pages, but as you add more and more, like when you add your resource page, this is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually it's not going to look right, and it's actually going to run off. So another strategy I like is to make these what's called sub pages. So if I were to click and drag Saratoga, notice how I can hover it on top of home. And what happens is it becomes like an organizational drop down in my website. And notice here, now I only see these 3, and under home, there's an arrow, and it can drop you down to Saratoga. So if I did this with all of those, dropped it here in the home page, dropped this here in the home page, I really like that organization. at the top, you just see the home page, and then you also see a drop down. Okay. Now you can make things, let's call it a drop down of a drop down, like organized so that you can go deep. If Saratoga had multiple pages about it, there's different ways like that that you can organize it. Okay. But this is kind of a basic layout and it looks really neat. All right. Next time, we're going to look at a few more advanced features for your website.